And what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. This is the MMA combat boxing episode that I normally record on Thursdays, but we're switching it up with the football season coming around now. Me and Shoulders will record on Thursdays, hopefully, so that way you guys can listen to the show with our predictions and stuff with the Saturday games and Sundays, stuff like that. A lot of news this past week as far as combat stuff. Last weekend we had BKFC 7. Hell of a no, it wasn't even pay-per-view, it was free. Hell of a card, I should say. Our weekly Connor Mcgregor news, we touched a little bit on it yesterday during that episode because I just want to see what Shoulders' opinion about it was. And then we got UFC 241, I think it is. Cormier and Stiopchek are fighting this weekend for the rematch. Yeah, it's UFC 241. And decent looking card. I know last weekend's fight card was not the greatest from what I was seeing on Twitter. It sounded like Bare Knuckle blew them out of the water, but before we do any of these stories, head over to Twitter, follow the show at ST Sports Podcast, follow myself at Jimbo ST Sports, and then follow Shoulders at ST Sports Shoulders O'Brien. Head over to our YouTube channel. We got a YouTube channel there. I gotta get the videos up. I'm hopefully get it all caught up this weekend. Subscribe over there. Head over to Facebook, like and share our page there. And also, when you go on to Twitter to follow us, head over to our Teespring page for our t-shirts and stuff like that. We have hoodies and even onesies for the little ones if you got any. So, like I said, last weekend was BKFC 7. I was live tweeting it, and Jesus, talk about knockouts left and right. The first fight that came on was Quinton Henry versus Bubba Marlborough. I don't know why I wanted to say McDowell. And you know what? Like in the first round, it seemed like Bubba was not necessarily picking him apart, but making his shots count. Fortunately, with just a few seconds left in the round, he got caught and just got knocked out. This Quinton Henry, though, I kind of like his persona. He has like this cartoon character type persona. You know, he was wearing the USA shorts. When he knocked Bubba out, kind of gloated a little bit, which I always say I'm okay with some trash talking. Just don't be, over the top with it. I like to see it entertainment. And I remember tweeting about this fight here that it was a hell of a way to kick off the night. How would Caleb Harris and Jonathan Vizante top that? Well, I'm pretty sure Jonathan is still trying to wake up. I mean, one of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen in my life. It was, I still say, I compared it to when Apollo got knocked out by the Russian in Rocky IV. Just face planted himself. I don't even think his face was hitting the ground yet, and the ref was already calling for a doctor to come in and help get this guy woken up. From what I remember, I don't even think he was standing there when they announced Caleb Harris as the winner. He definitely was wobbled legs for quite some time. But even that fight, the first round, was a very entertaining fight, up until the knockout. And unfortunately, Jonathan got knocked the fuck out. Then after that, we had Dale Soapy versus Juan Torres. This was a pretty good fight, even though it went to unanimous decision for Soapy. I think I only had Torres win one round. These judges scored a 49-46. Two judges scored at that. Then the other one scored a 48-47. And it was kind of funny at the very end of the last round, right before the bell rang, they both slapped each other in the face. Like, I know Soapy's been known to not necessarily punch people with closed fists, more of a Nate Diaz or Diaz brothers slap, which is, especially in bare knuckle, a smart move. I mean, you're not breaking your hand, but it still throws the other fighter's equilibrium off a little bit. And I'm surprised not many other fighters are, taking that type of punch into their arsenal. But like I said, Dale Soapy ended up winning this one. Another good fight. I mean, it's very rare you get 3 very good fights right off the bat. After that, we had Adam Pellerano versus Joshua Bordeaux. This one, Bordeaux ended up getting knocked out in the second round. Trying to remember how it went. I think it was one of those that just eventually got to a point where he got knocked down so many times that... Oh wait, no, this is the one that it was kind of a ghost injury. It looked like Bordeaux was backing up or something, and in a way, kind of looked like he may have like twisted his ankle or something. But when you watched it, I think it was more of an Achilles, because he didn't twist his ankle or anything. But when he was putting the weight on his one foot that he hurt, he just collapsed, grabbed the ankle, and ref called the fight. And again, it wasn't as good as the first 3, but it was still entertaining. And unfortunately, even though it was considered a knockout, Adam won by injury. Then after that, we had Isaac Valley Flag versus Melvin Gillard, who was making his BKFC debut. And Valley Flag ended up winning this one by technical knockout. Was just picking him apart all 3 rounds. And while Gillard was sitting in his corner about to get up, he said something about his hand, possibly sounded like, maybe it broke his hand or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not a doctor or anything like that, so this is pure speculation. But if his hand was broken, he wouldn't be able to grip a water bottle or shake hands with that broken hand, and he was doing that just fine. So I don't know if it was maybe a dislocated finger that he just couldn't go on with. And the funny part was, these two actually, they're really good friends, training partners, and live together. So, Valley Flag is helping Melvin Gillard out with the training and stuff like that, so that's why they're living together. But that had to be interesting, going back home at night, or even if it was the next day or whatever. So I was a little disappointed in that fight, because I was expecting a little bit more out of Melvin, and he just could not figure out Valley Flag. And once again, I said going into this fight that I thought the way Valley Flag would win this is he had to get a quick start going with the match. And that first round, it just seemed like his last fight, he was just slow getting it going. In the second round, he picked up the pace and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe that might be his style of fighting, where that first round he kind of throws it away to figure out what his opponent is doing. But hey, it worked, So he went on to win this one. Definitely 2-0 in the last 2 fights. He may be 2-1 in his last 3 fights. After that, we had Helena Peralta versus Christine Ferreira, which was for the women's featherweight title, and I believe the bantamweight semifinal. So kind of like 2 fights rolled up into one. This was a hell of a fight. It ended up going to unanimous decision, which before they announced who the winner was, I came out and said that, whoever gets the decision, I'm okay with, because it was such a close fight. 2 judges had it 48-47, and the one judge had it 48-45. First round, Helen seemed cautious in a way, and Ferreira was just kind of picking her apart until she finally knocked Peralta down. And tell you what, man, she must have pissed Helen off, because when she got up, ref said fight, and she was like the Tasmanian devil, just not even trying to make sure her punches landed. It was more of, I just want to throw as many punches as I can, and whatever lands. And by the time the fight was over, their faces, both of them, were mauled. I understand the sport is a very gruesome sport, but goddamn, I definitely would not want to fight either of these 2 women. They both got knocked down a couple times, but they both kept getting back up and coming at the other, and definitely showed a lot of heart, and I gained a lot of respect for both these women, and I can't wait to watch them fight again. I actually wouldn't mind seeing them run this one back again, because it was so close of a fight. Then after that fight, we had Chase Sherman versus Arnold Adams. Arnold Adams, coming into the fight, this was his first heavyweight title defense against Chase Sherman. Ended up going to unanimous decision for Chase Sherman. Judges had a 49-45, 2 of them did, and then 49-46 the other. Adams just couldn't figure him out. He was sitting back, kind of seemed like he wanted to play the counterpunch game, and by the time that 4th, 5th round came, he was already behind the scorecards. May have been a little bit too late for him, and he just couldn't figure out how to land a big one to knock him down. 5th round came, and Sherman knocked down Adams, and that pretty much sealed the deal for the fight. Chase Sherman, actually, I believe he called out Sam Shoemaker for another, fight back. That was his opponent last fight, and again, that was another close fight and another good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing those 2 run that one back. Then for the main event, we had Jim Ehlers versus Leonard Garcia. Poor Leonard Garcia. Ref said fight, and Ehlers just, again, was like a Tasmanian devil. Unloaded on him, dropped him, stood up, unloaded on him, dropped him. I mean, he dropped him like 3 times, and then finally the ref, finally called it. I'll tell you what, Ehlers, so far, I've watched every one since last June. The 2 fighters that I could honestly say are a force to be reckoned with in this organization is Jim Ehlers and Johnny Bedford. Ehlers, unless you could slow him down somehow, I mean, every fight he's been in, he just throws punches in bunches. Now, granted, Leonard Garcia, he's older, he's a lot more worn down, and this type of fighting probably would have been perfect for him about 5-6 years ago, but he just has too many fights underneath his belt, and he's still entertaining to watch. So I'm sure they may keep him around another fight or two to see how he does, but I would like to see BKFC start bringing in some good talent and give like Jim Ehlers and Johnny Bedford some competition. I mean, Johnny Bedford, he has Reggie Barnett. Reggie Barnett's not going nowhere. That's, to me, he's going to be his rival going on, kind of like Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. But so that was probably the best pay-per-view or best fight card they put on since they started doing this back in June of 2018. I believe the next one is either September or October. I'm pretty sure there's no fight announcements yet of what fighters are going to be fighting there. So I know, I'll give Ehlers credit though. He called out Lobov after the win, and that fight I think would be a hell of a fight. I mean, Lobov has a chin, decent boxing. I would love to see that fight. So since we're talking about Lobov, I want to kind of bring up his brat of a brother, I guess I want to call it. So Connor McGregor's back in the news. He was doing so well trying to keep his nose clean. And, me and Shoulders talked on it a little bit yesterday between who is the bigger moron between A-Rod for leaving $500,000 of jewelry in his car that got broken into, or Conor McGregor for punching a older gentleman in the face because he did not want his whiskey. So a video got leaked out earlier this week that Conor McGregor walked into a pub in Ireland, grabbed a couple glasses, cups, whichever it was, and started pouring his proper 12 out to the customers. Some took it. Well, this one gentleman said, no, thank you. Well, I'm not sure if he said, no, thank you, but he said, no, I don't want it. And Conor said, okay, and just clocked him in the face. The two guys that Conor was with yanked Conor right out of there. And this incident was back in April, which, again, I don't understand how no charges are filed. And the funny part, going back to the gentleman that got punched, Conor McGregor trains every day, weight lifts, spars, all that stuff. He hit the dude and didn't even knock him off his seat. The dude just sat there and was like, kind of looked like, okay, whatever. But now the Garda, Ireland's National Police Force, did release a statement a couple days after this video came out, and in the statement it said Garda are investigating an assault incident that occurred at a public house in Dublin 12 on 6/4/19 at approximately 2:30. An investigation is still ongoing and there's been no arrests yet. Here is my thing, and this goes with the NFL, with Tyreek Hill, with the video, the audio. You see him there. He's clear as day. You could tell it's him. You see him punch the dude. How is he not arrested? How is he not even brought in to be questioned? I understand Conor McGregor is the Muhammad Ali of Ireland, I guess, if you want to say it that. But no one is above the law. Maybe, I guess maybe Ireland has a little bit different laws or rules over there when it comes to assault compared to the US. I don't know. But common sense says if you punch somebody, you're going to get arrested no matter where you're at. And with Twitter reacting to this, a lot of people are saying, why is it Conor always makes sure he's in the news when there's a big pay-per-view event that week? This weekend, UFC 241, you have Cormier versus Stiopchik. One fight that McGregor is going to have his eye on is the Nate Diaz versus Pettis fight. And then in September, you have Nurmagomedov versus Poirier for the belt. So I'm sure he's going to be in the news doing something stupid there, too. And then in April, you had the last April. Yeah, I think it was last April, had the bus incident. You know, there's always he always has to have his name out there for some reason. Listen, you're a big name. Okay, you got your own whiskey. Yes, I know that. You fought Floyd Mayweather. You're the first champ. Yes, you're going to go down in UFC history as one of the bigger names. Not the biggest, but one of the bigger names. Stop acting like a retard. I mean, like, are you just that stupid?
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Exactly. You know, I think he is. I really think he has brain damage from all these fights, you know, from before UFC to now. It's like, just grow up already. And I'm announcing on the show, I'm done with him. I'm done rooting for him as a fighter, as a person. I want him to get his ass beat. Whether it's Pettis or Diaz. And I'll tell you what, if they do the Diaz trilogy, I'm going with Diaz. Because I have to laugh at what he did at his open workout during the week. He lit up a blunt and started smoking it. But you don't see Diaz walking down the street and... Okay, here. Diaz and his brother have a cannabis company, but you don't see Diaz walking down the street offering his brand or whatever, and someone saying no, and you don't see Diaz slapping the dude. So what gives you the right to walk into a bar, and maybe this guy knows that if I drink whiskey, I become a fighter, and I don't want to be that person. Maybe there's a reason why he didn't want the whiskey. Did you even bother to ask why? Why do you have to be so stupid with this shit? God, he pisses me off. You know, it's such a shame because when he first came onto the scene, he was not like this, at least, you know, in the spotlight. And, you know, I loved how he would call how he'd win the fight, and that's how he would go. But, man, once he got that belt, just like John Jones, he's just fallen off the deep end. It's a shame, you know, but so that's my weekly Connor rant. Hopefully he keeps his nose clean. And, you know, UFC is not going to suspend or fine him or anything, because I did see someone say they normally don't get involved with this stuff because they want to try to keep their fighters as independent contractors. If they suspend or fine one of these fighters, then you basically are saying they work for me, which opens the door for them to start a union. Well, you know what? Someone's got to step in and do something with these guys. You know, with Connor McGregor, John Jones. It's just ridiculous. Before you know it, I'm telling you right now, bare knuckle is going to be a bigger sport or bigger organization than UFC. I say if UFC keeps allowing these fighters to do this stuff, within the next 5 years, everybody's going to be over watching bare knuckle fighting championship. So before we go, we have UFC 241 this weekend, and like I said, this card is pretty good. You know, it looks like it's supposed to be pretty good. We have a rematch between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. Welterweight fight with Anthony Pettis versus Nate Diaz. Middleweight bout with Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. Featherweight bout Gabriel Benavidez versus Sodiq Yusuff. And a middleweight bout between Derek Brunson and Ian Heinisch. I mean, Derek Brunson, like this fight alone could be a fight right before the co-main event, and this fight here is kicking the card right off. So for my first pick, I'm gonna go with Ian Heinzek. I know Derek Brunson was talking trash about maybe it was about Connor. I forget exactly who. So I'm thinking he may have his mind elsewhere, and that's very bad to do going into a fight. So I'm going with Ian Heinzek with the win. Then after that fight, we have, like I said, the featherweight Gabriel Benitez versus Sodiq Yusuff. Like I always say, I love these featherweight guys. They're quick. They're feisty. I'm gonna go with Gabriel Benitez with the win. Then right before the co-main event, we have a middleweight bout between Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa. I know they were supposed to fight this or have this match, I believe, last year, and then Costa got popped for steroids. Romero got hurt, so it was just bad timing. Finally, we got put together. I'm going with Yoel Romero with the knockout. I know Costa hit a few fights. I saw him. It seems like if you could get him go deeper into the match, the more he slows down. I don't know how much of a gas tank he has for this match, but I could see a second or third round knockout for Romero. Then the co-main event, we have Anthony Pettis versus Nate Diaz. I've always liked Pettis. I always thought he's very entertaining, just with his kicks. He's you just never know when they're coming or what area they're coming from. Diaz, if he could get you down to the ground, I think he would win this. But I think Pettis is going to use his leg kicks to keep Diaz at bay. Plus, it's been a long layoff for Diaz. I never like taking a fighter that's been on a long layoff. So I'm going with Pettis with the win. Then with the main event, Daniel Cormier versus TPA Miocic. Cormier was on Ariel Helwani's show this past week and made the comment that if he wins this fight, he could walk away and be fine. But he wants a John Jones fight, and if he doesn't get it, he's okay with making this his last match. Not saying UFC's set up, but I can see Stipe win this. Cormier wanting a rematch and do a trilogy, and it's going to make tons of money because he say all he wants is big names, big fights after this one, which is why he wants John Jones. Jones is ducking him from what it sounds like on Twitter. I think the Jones fight would be a lot bigger money-wise fight for Cormier, but if he wanted to go out on top with the belt, I think he would want to do the trilogy because he's more of a heavyweight than a light heavyweight, and I think he's better at heavyweight. So I'm going with Stipe winning this one. Could be a war. They both weighed in roughly at the 230, 235 mark, which tends to show that they're more worried about speed and length of a fight instead of power and just get it one and done. So that's my picks for this week. Like we said last night on the episode with me and Shoulders is going to be on vacation. We're hoping to do a show together next week with Shoulders out on the beat, if you want to call it that. Get some live reaction from people out on the street or whatever. So you guys are going to have to definitely tune in to see that one. That one should be an interesting episode. So before I go, head over to ST Sports Podcast. Follow us on Twitter there. Follow my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports. Head over to Facebook, like and share our page there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to iTunes. Leave us a review there. Let us know how you like the show. Till next week, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.